it is the tomato. I didn't just realized I had my mic flipped up and muted this whole time. So, hello, I'm here. I am actually alive. It is good to see you, Inquisitor 550, as you are known on here. Now, let me just... My camera is live. Hello, hello. There's my hand. Let me just make sure everything's set on this end. Is the music okay there, Tomato? Let me know if the music's loud or too quiet. Alright, so we got our stuff. Got my beverage. Oh, hold on, let me move my screen so that I can actually read the chat when I look over here. So the music sound alright? Alright, excellent. So today we are continuing our work on our dreadnought. Our Redemptor dreadnought. Which is funny because I actually just recently redoing my Space Wolf list, I finally just stopped taking dreadnoughts because the points increase and stuff. But that doesn't matter for making awesome fucking models. But we're gonna do a few things today. So here, let me give you a preview of the stuff that we've done. So here we have his fist arm. The gun barrels and the fingers are still unpainted. But you can see that I got the plate up underneath there. I got, including the secondary plate. And then the color, the kind of the crimson, which is a nice little mix of violet and red to darken it down. Got my own custom bit that I designed. I didn't design it, I turned it into a bit from a image. I don't know, what do you call that? When you're given a concept and then you turn it into like a physical object. What is that called? Alright. Have a nice shower, and I hope you have a good time at work. So we have this here. I think we will end up today, what we're going to end up doing, for the most part. Painting some more of the torso here. But also, we're going to be doing some practicing on our actualization, realization. I guess? I don't know. Those feel like more like concepts. I guess it would have been development. I didn't develop the design. It would be development. I didn't design the design, but I developed the piece. Alright, where were we? Ah, yes. Now, just here's my little ramekin of sawdust that now lives on my desk. And here we have stuff. There's even sawdust left over on this, but that'll be fine. And we're gonna end up doing some practices today. So, but first, we're gonna start with working a little bit more on this upper torso, as I have a black panel to paint at least. No. Go away, green stuff. Stop grabbing my tools. You can go back here because I do not require you right now. Wow. This resin is so hard. I guess this was just really heavy, but I guess this will make it easier to paint. Man, this resin is hard, but I think it might be a little too hard. Then again, this is a very heavy piece, and it did just land on it. But that did not feel like a lot for breaking it. I'm going to keep these separate for now, because I actually think I can utilize that to my advantage. In order to make some things easier to paint. Now, where are we? We do not need a big one. As you can see, I have my wet palette here. My little homemade wet palette. Still got my colors on it. We want to be nice and careful here. Because we don't want to get this black on the blue. Probably end up doing a little touch-up later. But there we go. Now we have this black piece here to go with his shoulder pad. I managed to hit the blue while waving my hand around, but that shouldn't be too difficult of a fix, to be honest. Once I can take this and I can kind of, because that paint's not dry, but the black paint's not dry, so I can kind of do that, which will thin it up enough that I just need a tiny, tiny bit of the blue once again to fix this. Just take a nice deep look at this. Good there, but I think that's a shadow. And there we go. So now we have this black panel here. Which is very useful. When I say very useful, it is stylish because it fits in with his company markings, being part of the 13th company. So, we're gonna let that dry. I actually have some other things that I kind of want to test before I move anywhere else. I need to make some decisions about what color I'm going to paint this housing. I think the housing itself will probably be the azure, but not the piece under it. And how I'm going to make what colors I'm going to paint this here in the back. As well as how to handle some of this stuff. It's supposed to kind of appear to be metal. A lot of this is going to be metal. So we're going to have to do some metal painting practice. Which, aha, here we are. We have scrap pieces here. So one of the techniques I have been advised is good for painting metal is to dry brush it. Just yeah, it'll do. Sorry, I'm just reclaiming old supplies. Still got this. Now I've been told to do it over black. I'm going to try it over the gray to see how it looks. And I'm going to start by using a darker metal here, zinc. But if it comes down to it, a lot of people... Actually, I think I'm going to start with this Deco Art Shimmering Silver that is basically a gloss paint. A leftover, like, gloss enamel. Oh, actually, that is a gloss paint. Well, we can test it. We have 2 pieces here, so we're gonna test it. Don't need a lot. And we're just gonna take this. This is a makeup brush that my sister was kind enough to give me. Load that in, but we get rid of a lot of it. So that should do it. And now let's see how this dry brush actually looks once we've applied it to a gray part. That seems like way too much paint still. That or it's just that bright. So let's try this again. And wipe this mostly clean, dip it in water, and scrub it a bit. It actually doesn't look half bad even then, but... It would probably look better in black, in all honesty. I'm just re-drying the brush because I do want the brush to be dry for a dry brush. Who would have thought? Hey, Amber DT, hi Mom. I'm doing some dry brush experimentation today with some metallics to try and paint metal. Give me a moment to try part 2 of my experiment, and I'll kind of show you some of the cool stuff I did. It's wet. I don't want to. Okay, that should do the trick. I'm just going to try dry brushing this. We're doing it with gray. Need more. This is not completely dry yet, and that's kind of what's messing this up. But actually, I do think the zinc looks better. I do think the zinc is going to look a bit better than... especially over black. I can pretty much guarantee the zinc is going to give me the effect I want over the black. So... clean this up, and we'll give it another test run in a minute. First, I'm going to go ahead and show off my stuff again. But we're going to let this dry properly this time. Let me go ahead and move this up here. Set these aside. Those dry. So here is pieces of my dreadnought. And so here's the arm. This is probably the piece I have the most painted right now. The fingers, the gun barrel, and this elbow joint are not painted yet. Obviously I 3D printed the whole thing myself, and I developed this symbol. And the holes in it, which just appear to be holes currently because they're not colored in, These I'll probably put shimmering silver in them because I do kind of want them to be stand out, but maybe zinc are like bullet holes. Got another one here on the arm. Then we have the torso. His head is unpainted and the shield is unpainted. There's a couple unpainted parts on this one, but here he is. Again, more bullet holes drilled into him. I sculpted these green stuff pelts, the green stuff wolf fur that's on his arm here, or on his shoulder. This part's unpainted, but I printed and primed this. And then we have the base. And so I sculpted this wolf fur pelt that went over here. The legs were both pointed forward, and I reposed this one so that it's pointing out to the side. I actually cut it off. And then we have the wreckage in the back, and actually this thing is going to be held in this hand, like being dragged. And I don't know if you can see the green stuff sculpt. It's gray right now because it's all primed, but that's like going to be molten metal. And if you see here, the like texture on the base, that is my very own texture paint made from black paint, a little dab of gray paint, just light it up. Or, it's actually made from black paint, that's right, it's primed over, and sawdust from the garage. And so that's how I did that. And then I got the tires here for the vehicle that'll be on the vehicle once it's more put together. Alright, but we're actually going to do some experimentation on how to paint the dirt. Because I have some texture paint and stuff stuck to this paper plate that's left over. It's all dried in place. And we're just going to see how some of this stuff behaves when I try to like dry brush it or something. When did I actually set that brush for drying? Gotta make sure we keep coming back to this one because we want to make sure that it actually dries out. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna do a dab of white and see. I'm actually just going to end up putting this in here. Just a tiny dab, because I don't need a lot. And I don't want to wet this down any further because I actually want it to be dry, because I'm going to try and dry brush with it. So I'm taking one of these. This is a very similar to this one, but not as nice, and I don't think I need as nice a one for getting the metallic dry brushes down, but we're going to try this. Because I can't see it on there, I'm just going to have to do it this way. And I want to get it to about there. See how it's gotten about how much that paint is there? We're just going to try some stuff. We're just going to flick and see what happens. Interesting. Probably could get a little more in there. That's too much. So the idea is to get this effect. See how it's got the white on the tips of it? Now I'm testing technique here because I'm going to leave most of this base gray. Because I want this gray. Excuse me. But I want to get this kind of effect over it to give it a moony look. I might even end up painting over it. We will see how I decide to handle that color precisely, but this dry brushing technique will work just fine. And I think we should be okay with white. In fact, I wish I hadn't just done that and... Yeah, we're just gonna let this dry. We're gonna do a little more other stuff here. Falling over. Let's try this guy, but I actually meant to do it on this as well, but hey. So we're definitely going zinc with the metals. Where did the pipe go? Curious. I seem to have misplaced the pipe. Well, I'll end up just brushing that to be black then. Let's think about this. Let's think about the shield. What do we think? What do we think? What kind of colors would go good here? So I'm thinking some, like, leather straps. You see that they're buckled. Paint the buckles maybe a brassy color. What did I use for my brass previously? Was it this mink pearl? No. It wasn't copper. Oh man, I forgot to take these out of the bag. Throw those out of the way. Copper. Where's my... I had a brass. I swear I had a brass. Because I definitely used it on the intercessor pack. So where did it end up? It's gonna stand up here, fiddle around. Oh, there's the thing of blue tack that I was looking for earlier. Don't need it now. Where did I end up putting all of my paints? I had found a home for them. Oh well, we'll improvise as we go here. So, little brassy bit on there. Yeah, I'm supposed to have a gold somewhere. Interesting. They appear to have completely misplaced it. Oh, you know what? Did it all end up in here? No, a bunch of stuff ended up in here, but no, not that. Just I have a toolbox. I have a couple boxes underneath my desk here that you guys can't see because there's a desk in the way. But I'm just digging around trying to find colors that I have available because a nice brassy color would be pretty nice here. And I'm trying to figure out exactly how I want to paint this. This detail paint might want to wait for later, though. Okay, you know what? I know what we're going to do now. Let's paint the housing of the Icarus rocket pod here. So this component here on the top. Let's go ahead and paint that. Need to get a little water in there just to revitalize it a little bit. Sometimes it dries out a bit as time goes on, but it's really easy to bring back, thankfully. Scalpel, or actually this will do. Sometimes paint seeps down into the cracks and you gotta get it out of there, or else you lose the detail. There we go. And there we go. We have the whole thing's painted this color right now. I'll go back and add more into the details later. Okay, let's look for other azure bits. Okay, I actually have been thinking about what color to paint his head. Because if this head is the same color as everything else, it's all just going to blend together, right? I want this to stand out kind of like the way it does. So I have two options. I can either paint the head this azure color, and then paint the cowling. I'm going to clean my brush and I'll show you. And then paint the cowling above it a different color. Or I paint the head a different color and paint the cowling. I think I like the idea of painting the head a different color. And I think here we actually are going to have to start with the crimson. So we still have our crimson here. The inks, the pigments kind of separate a bit as they settle. You kind of have to remix the whole thing. So just kind of get in there. not get it in there. One might require more than one coat. Okay. Then we're going to take a little corner of napkin here in order to clean up some of our mistakes, so that way it's easy to touch up, even though it's a darker color. Whoops. Now we can fix that. You're going to hear whoops a lot watching me, because sometimes things just do not go quite according to plan. Actually, I think we're going to go up a brush size just to... Alright, we're gonna let that dry because it is, whoops, whacked my mic, messing with my nose. I actually might need to add more water. I'm just gonna do something here. I'm just gonna add a little extra water to each of these just to... The black held up really well. The rest need a little revitalization. I'm just gonna let those soak in there. Now we're gonna let that dry. And leave the cowling alone for now. Alright, that should have taken long enough for us to get back to our experiment over here. In which we are going to paint this piece black and attempt the metallics again. Although, I love how I've chosen the shiniest piece to do this, but black is a very powerful color. I don't need to be perfect about this. I don't even necessarily need to do the whole thing either. I just need enough to run so that when it dries, and it dries black, because this thing's gonna dry black, that I can turn around and then try out my experiment to see how it looks. Okay. Clean off my brush once more. While we let that dry, we're going to do another tiny piece of experimentation. We get a bit of this one will do better for this because it doesn't have stuff already in it. We're gonna get a bit of our white, just a dab here, And I'm using a paper plate for this because I don't want to use another wet palette because, again, we're back to dry brushing because that's the technique required for a couple of these components. So... take that. Okay. So we're going to try this front piece right here. Okay, I think we can keep the gray. But this is going to look too much like light snow, I think, rather than dust. So, here's what we have to do. And I actually think with this, we can actually straight up start working on the base. Here's what we do. We get a tiny dab of black. That should do the trick for now, and we can add more as required. And we're going to make ourselves a gray. But it's deliberately a lighter gray than what already exists on there. As you can see, very light gray. Still too much. Alright, this should do the trick. So now... perfect. Perfection. And as you can see now... focus in for me. You can see the color difference. Here, let me get a little more on here, because you got to build it up. You can see the color difference between just, like, the gray. You can see here's just the gray, and here's the mix. It's especially prominent on this end versus this end. So this is perfect. I think we can layer it on a little heavier though. Oh my, this has come out so nicely. Oh me, oh my. Holy shit, totally, that really brought out all those edges. That looks like actual dirt now instead of just spackly gray. Just gorgeous. Go ahead, clean this brush out. Let this brush dry. This needs to dry a little bit longer. But that came through really well. I should maybe have waited to do some more of the painting for that, but especially now I know what color it's going to be, we can actually start, there's the big brush, working the azure onto the, I'm going to start on the toes actually, because we've got to be careful here. So I'm starting with the toes because I want to be careful around the toes. I don't want to paint this lovely base that I just painted. The wrong color anyways. I also do not need super perfect, consistent layers on the toes, because they should have like spots and streaks of gray showing through because they're walking through gray dust. Gotta get in from the backside there. Now the toe joints themselves, I'm gonna leave gray for now. There's like a weird projection here. I think it's a bit of sawdust or something that straight up doesn't need to be there. There we go, that looks better. I might do a little dry brushing down there for some metallic just around the rim, but I want to leave a lot of that the gray. That's one of the advantages of using like a color you know is going to be in your scheme as part of a primer, is it means that the primer can act as a partial base coat. I'm just hitting his toes right now, so it's a lot of weird angles, but I want to do that where like it's going to be the easiest to fix mistakes. I almost don't even need to paint this toe, but hey, we will anyways. I'm gonna leave the top part of that. That's actually gonna stay gray. Like on purpose gray. You can see back in there, and his toes are blue now. And we're gonna start working our way up. I'm actually gonna start with some stuff in the back here. You won't be able to see me painting this piece because it is a piece that is like way in the back here. There's this one that's in between the two. Like I said, these pieces I probably could get away with never painting. Just on account of them being back, like, there's not really an angle except for this way with the right kind of light where you can even see that component. But we're gonna do it anyways. But with that in place, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna start working on the shin plates here all the way around. Coming on around. You have to decide what I think. I might just tip all of the rivets in zinc. Get the inside of his leg. Here we go, we got our smoothed out piece here. Play? No, this is all 3D printed. I 3D printed all of these components myself. Also, hello, Red Raven. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, this is all 3D printed. This is some Warhammer 40k models that I've, like I said, I 3D printed, I've assembled, and now I am in the process of painting. And I'm kind of painting it in stages as we go. Just because I kind of want to wait for pieces to dry. Like, the head here needs another coat. Because the gray is kind of showing through. While, you know, the fingers on this aren't painted. The barrels on this aren't painted. And I'm kind of going through and doing the legs now because I don't have to wait for something to dry on that piece to be able to do it. I'm just kind of bouncing back and forth between the different pieces because we need to. And I'm currently working on the shins of this dreadnought, who I have reposed his leg. That's why there's this fur pelt hanging over the joint to hide the green stuff. But no, this model is resin and 3D printed. There's nothing quite like just painting to make something come to life, you know? Doing pour art? It doesn't matter. Oh, pour art, like pouring. I'm sorry, I thought that was 2 O's. I'm actually not familiar with what pour art is. You mean like the, kind of like the people with coffee? Because that would be cool. I know a lot of people do it, but it's still fun to watch. I know I watch it. Sorry, I'm just kind of examining stuff. So can you tell me what kind of art pour art is? Like pouring something is what I see that spelled as? Because I would be interested in knowing if it's what I think it is. Sorry, I've pulled it out of shot because I just kind of needed a stable to shift my grip to get into a few spots. There we go. Shins are done. Slowly working our way around. Is this scrap piece done? Yeah, this scrap piece is done drying. So I have the scrap piece here to test certain components to see about techniques. And that's kind of just one of the things I do on the show is when I try a new technique out, I try it on pieces of scrap or on other pieces to see how it works or comes out. And I'm using a technique called dry brushing to do this. You will notice that I use my arm a lot because the skin helps. The skin picks the brush out of the paint out of the brush really quickly. So oh wow, that is actually really good metal. That's actually a really good metal piece right there. So this actually looks pretty good over black. I ain't gonna lie, that's pretty good. So I'm gonna set this aside for my zinc. Oh, we are go ahead. And I think we're gonna keep working on the legs here. Well, what color am I painting this stuff? I know a lot of this is going to end up metal, so a lot of this needs to be painted black. Well, actually we can run a little testaroni here. Yeah, it needs some more. Yeah, I still want the black. So we're gonna let that black, we're gonna have to wait till we paint that black. Black might actually be a thing we might want to start going around and getting things painted as. We're gonna push this aside and let that stuff dry. These are gonna be a different color gray, but the inside track here, this inside track Or actually, maybe I should just do the whole thing. Let's do the whole thing. Yeah, the whole component together will kind of look better as metal than like some sort of track and hubcap. Get that black in there. Okay, we have a little cleaning we have to do here. We can hit that later with a touch-up. Oh man, I don't know when I did that though. I am very clumsy. Okay. Go. Quick clean. You gotta make sure you really clean the black out of a brush, because if you don't, it kind of lingers in there, and because black is so powerful, even small amounts of it can drastically change colors. A good soda. Ooh, scratchy throat. just gotta bring. Trying to get up underneath this this panel here, because you can see the gray if you don't, and I don't want that. We don't really need to paint the peg here, because that's actually going to go inside the torso, so... Okay, I think it's time to let those dry. We got more joints to paint black. Just trying to get some small spaces. Again, like before, we can always go back and touch some stuff up. Need to actually have some paint though, eh? And what I'm doing right now is I'm it's kind of hard to see with that in the way, is I'm getting this knee joint, because these joints that I'm painting black currently, I am going to where did that piece go? Oh, it's right here. I'm going to dry brush them with the zinc in order to do this. You can see how well it came out there. And so I'm kind of pre-prepping these areas. In fact, this whole under area is going to end up black. So we're going to have like a azure like plate here, but this whole thing is going to be black, or is going to be metal, so. Especially since metal really does bring out the dry brush. Or the metal dry brush really does bring out the details. That's the words I was looking for. Just gotta get down in there. It's coming along pretty well. Might need more black paint here soon because I'm starting to run low. In fact, I'm just going to admit that I have run too low. So we're going to go ahead and add a little black paint to our palette here. Very delicate to get. I say delicate, it's very fiddly. There's a large amount of components to paint here. Just gotta. So now I've moved across here, and I do kind of need to do. I do still need to do the other side, but I've moved across the kind of top and sides here, and I'm basically working my way back down this way, just to keep going. And I'm not worrying too hard about overspilling into some of these other places. They're fairly easy to touch up. Getting this hub here, there's a joint hub. Get this upside down. I'm having a little trouble keeping this in shot, so I'm actually going to move this way just a tiny bit, so that way you'll have a better view of what I'm doing as I handle this thing. the inside of the leg here. Look, I'll fix that in a bit. I believe we've almost got to get the backside here. And then we got to get the underside. I know we've prepped the leg section for metal dry brushing. This is hopefully in shot, but I'm actually holding it this way to actually see what I'm doing under there. Gotta paint his booty. Booty. Get this piece right here just in case. Now I'm not actually super concerned, once more, about this component right up here, because that's kind of like where his body goes. You're not really going to be able to see that. Actually, what I think I'm going to do and paint these leg cuffs. Oh, we're gonna have to come in from the side here. That relatively even. I'm going to leave the circle piece here that the toes actually connect to. I'm going to leave that gray. And I'm going to leave this piece gray as above it, but I'm going to paint this cuff in here black. Actually, before I continue on this particular one, this one's much smaller. I actually want to use a different brush. Go back down. We're gonna go back down to a nitty bitty brush. And then these guys are going to get a gray metal dry brush here. I don't know, maybe I should paint those azure as well. We'll decide in a bit. Those might actually end up painted azure as like protective joint cuffs. Okay. So that's painted black, that's painted black. Definitely should have waited on the azure on the legs. Just on account of, you know, just now as I'm looking at it, it's like I still need to paint this whole thing black. And this whole thing, like this whole section black as well. So I think I kind of jumped the gun on that. So this entire section back here, we're gonna just clean this up just a little bit. We're gonna start again with some more black. So I'm gonna want to use a small brush for this particular component. And we're painting the engine block. We're still prepping the black for the metals. Again, once more, in retrospect, maybe something I should have done first. But we will be okay. We can handle this. Actually, I think I want to paint those hoses black, not metal black. Definitely really want to paint this black. Yeah, let's get this whole panel here. We gotta start handling this, so we gotta get this blue tack off. I don't really feel the need to paint this underside right here. Well, or now. Do I? I don't feel the, yeah I do. I feel the need. We can use a bigger brush for that when we get there. But right now, we're still getting this engine block detail painted in. I'm just kind of still working on the small details here. I'm going to switch back to a bigger brush to do some of the larger bits. What is supposed to be here? Welcome back, Tomato! How are you doing? I'm bumping my, Did you have a nice shower and stuff? So Blick, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully it'll be at least I was gonna say a quiet day at work, but let's say a day of work with the appropriate level of excitement. But let's say the pleasing level of excitement. So, I'll show you some of my progress that I made since you've been back. So I did that to the legs. I painted some of the joints here black. And I'm working on painting the under chassis here black in preparation to take on metals and stuff. And I'm currently just using a small brush to get to some hard to reach places first. Okay. A little bit more we gotta do. We gotta do this piece here. Painting the storm bolters here. I decided to paint his head red. It needs another coat because it isn't quite as smooth as I'd like, but that's what I decided to do with him. Also, the dry brushing on his base came out, like, perfect. Like, I just switched to a gray, and it looks like rocks now. It looks like stone. It's amazing. Where is he? Okay, I think we can switch brush finally. But Izolf here is coming along very nicely. We're going to go ahead and switch to a larger brush for our black. Hey Tomato, when you get a chance, I'm going to hold this up here for just a few minutes, and hopefully you'll be able to rewind and see if you can't look at this very moment. Come on, focus in on the... What colors do you think I should paint this shield? There you go, that's my question. You'll have to rewind and pause, because it's, I don't want this stuff to dry without me actually getting done. So, gray, brass rim, a middle. It doesn't have any decals on it. Although the green and white's got me... Sorry. The green and white has me thinking, though. Okay. It's a little jank. I think we managed to get all of the black on this piece and all of the black on this piece. I'll probably end up like dry brushing this lower area with a bit of this light gray just to dusty it up. But yeah, the green and white has me thinking, because I could do that because it's got these 4 segments here, right? Come on. There we are. Because it's got these 4 segments. Maybe I could do like green and white. And then with the brown straps over. Although that'll be a little bit hard because 2 of the segments are just straight up covered. Maybe I'll do like a sea green for the quarters. That could be really nice. Because I think like a nice, like bright, like a green color would really pop against the blue and the red stuff. You know? Yum. A good drink. Okay, we're gonna let this dry for a bit. And we ain't even close to being done painting shit black yet. Because now we have these components that we have to paint black. So it's time to paint the engine, which is a little exciting, to be honest. Because this is like one of my centerpieces that I've been working on this whole time, you know? And it's okay if we get some black on the ground here underneath, just on account of when we do some painting, it'll make a little sense for some of this to be blacked, be a bit black, because of the heat that the story here involves. Get a little bit more out here. Kind of jab and stab here, just make sure it gets on up under there. Make sure it gets up under there, but that should do the trick. Not to self-paint that. This front panel is going to be bright red when I'm done, though. I can check on Twitch, or I can actually look here. Oh, hello. Hey, I see you there. Don't think I don't see you, Chujiso. I just went to check my lurkers, and there's another VTuber watching me. Hello. Too shy to say hello? Don't worry, I wouldn't normally call you out, but I like you. Okay. But yeah, I can see a list of names. Not super focused on what my view account actually is right now, because I am trying to apply paint without ruining everything. This thing's taken like a couple months to get this far, so I'm hesitant. Let's see, I'm trying to get this cylinder back in there. It's actually, if I turn it this way, you should be able to see it. Okay. Yeah, it says you're still here. It does in fact say that you are still here. But thank you guys for coming to watch. And yeah, it'll be easier for me to show you this way because of the lighting situation, but I'm trying to get this piece right in here. So it's a little bit wonky, but we're working on it. We're getting there. This is some of the harder painting times, so this is some of the more finicky and technical parts. But we're getting there. I'm very happy with our progress, too. Just gotta get around. Just gotta. Probably not the best brush to be doing this with, but we're doing it anyways. So it don't need to be perfect down here. Alright, so we've got the black on. I'm actually going to leave that gray because it looks buried in the muck and that feels right. I did whack my azure spot, but it's kinda deserved. There's no reason I should have done the azure before having to do this massive step of painting everything black. So that way, let me get this. Should we actually get it up in there? So we're gonna set this down. We're gonna clean this brush out. We're gonna clean it out nice and good. Fortunately, I cannot beat the devil out of it like Bob Ross, because I do not have that odorless paint thinner, and I don't have a bucket for me to swat it into. So, kind of got to do this the old-fashioned way. Perfect. Alright. Wow, it's almost been 2 hours already? Jeez. So let's take us a moment to examine what components we have here. So this thing is fully painted black, and it's got its azure components, but those are all going to need to be touched up. He needs another serving of red on his face, which I can do right now. Let's need a little more. Knock that over. I think we actually... Oh. This is tearing through my butcher paper, unfortunately. My big cup of water that I can drizzle in there, because this is not... I think I've just run out of water in my paper towel charge here. Sometimes it happens. It's no big. Just gotta improvise sometimes. There we go, that should do the trick, actually. He didn't need much more, he just needed a little bit more on his forehead. Alright. Easel. Alright. Can take myself another drink of my delicious soda. My wizard juice. Filled with many magical things I should probably not be putting into my body, but I'm a wizard, damn it. We do things we're not supposed to do all the time. Like use our arm as a pallet. Okay. So, let me see. Just trying to decide on my next step. I do suppose I have to paint these, I guess. I have one good orc tire and one Brutus tire. Might actually be easier just to paint the Center. Huh. We'll decide, because I'm actually still not 100% certain how I want to paint these wheels. Gosh darn, this looks pretty cool though, don't it? I still hope the color's coming through on how well that highlighting dry brush came through on the texture paint. I'm hoping it catched it, because it looks just like gray moon dust. Like, it came through really nicely. Whew. Okay. What now? Still have to make decisions about this piece too. I technically have more that I need to paint black, don't I? Because I gotta paint the barrels of these black. So that's what we'll do. Yeah, there we go. I'm working on this like little Gatling gun thing here on the bottom. The what is it? The Onslaught Gatling cannon. Just kind of working that into the bottom here. And then, so the housing is going to be this azure color, but then it's going to be poking out with metal. I actually might leave part of it black, but I know the barrels will be metal at least. I'm just trying not to over-metalify this thing so it's not just a couple colors, you know? Or so that it's not all that color. I just want to make sure that I'm conscious of how much metal I'm using. Alright, so we got that, Sometimes the blue tack just do not want to hold on, but it's okay. We can just set this like that and let that dry. Okay, so these pieces are separate, so I don't need to worry about interfering with each other here. So I think we're about at the point we're gonna start trying to get some zinc on this. Alright, let me just clean this up. And you'll get to see a little bit of magic here with painting metals. Right? So this is one of my spells, if you will. Because this will maybe blow your mind. I think this is maybe a little bit too large of a brush. We need a smaller brush, I think. We're gonna go with this brush. We don't need a big brush here, just because we're kind of getting into some tight spaces. We're gonna take, we already have some, oh wow, that stuff dried fast. So where's my bottle of this? Ah, here it is. Here's my zinc metallics. We're gonna pop this open. Note, we are not thinning this down at all, because we don't want any extra water in it, because we're dry brushing. I'm sure those of you who have been here have heard me say this like 5 times already, and are like, God dang it, we get it. We get it, Rakalor. Dry brushing, it's a thing that you do. But it's really important to not add water to the thing you want to keep dry. So we're gonna start with his little booty here. We're gonna give his little booty some attention. And once I do that, you'll kind of see why we do it this way. Let it build up a little bit, and there we go. Look at that, look at that. It went from black to a beautiful metal color. And we're basically going to repeat this process on all of these black components that we did. And here's one of the secrets is the lesser areas, the areas that are not raised, that don't get caught by the dry brush, those automatically become shading. Boom. We've just done 2 steps in one. Like, look at that already. Look at it. Yeah, see? Not done. Just done. Look at that. Look at the difference. It's incredible how much just a little bit of metallic dry brushing will absolutely transform a bit of black. Look at that. See that on the inside of his knee there? Here's the inside of the other knee. It's not even done yet. See? Vastly different once you've done the dry brush. Oh, wow. Look how good this looks now. Wow. I've only done this a couple times, and it's still at the point where it never ceases to amaze me how good, how, like, drastic the change is from just being black to this. Look at it. Look at it. Look at that booty. His booty, booty, booty. And I talked about possibly keeping the lower cuff of his shins gray. I think I am going to go ahead and do that. There you go. So you can see down in cracks here now how it looks. It's like this magic. Just magic, I tell you. Look at it now. Look at that. Look at that knee now compared to what it looked like a few seconds ago. Just amazing. And it's really easy to do. Like this might seem like super advanced, but it is paint it black, dry brush metallic instead of painting it a metallic, because you'll get a very bright metallic if you do that. Alright, I'm gonna let that piece sit for a second, because I do still have to do the larger metal here. But I've got this brush in hand, and I'm gonna keep working with it. Also, another trick to doing this, don't like push the brush into your model. Just let it flip across the top, you know? So, if you want the secret sauce to some of this magic as to why this particular conjuration works the way it does, it's because the dry paint doesn't like to stick to anything, really. A little bit of it will stick to these flatter surfaces. Just see how it's kind of shiny there. But it turns when it hits a sharp edge, the sharp edge scrapes the paint out. And so the paint collects on the raised edges the way light does on the raised edges of an actual metal object. So it's all a trick, an illusion that tricks your eye into seeing bright spots where light collects, where we would naturally expect it to be metal. And that is how it works. And that's what a lot of, painting is about. It's about learning to place the light where it should be, because that is the primary thing that we use to see. What should be brighter? What should be darker? And that's how you really get people to see things, is by placing the light. This is super important in 3D modeling and painting, especially 3D painting, because I also have to account for the fact that this whole thing rotates, right? So I need to be aware of how light behaves when it hits certain objects, because this thing is too small to actually cast shadows the way an object that is as big as it's supposed to represent is. It's way too small. So I'm going to end up putting darker tones under here, under this thing, in order to give the illusion of a shadow. It's actually too small to cast. But I have to, because an object of the size that it's representing would have a shadow, a small shadow underneath these pieces. And thus, I need to put something there that tricks your eyes into thinking there is a shadow there. Okay, we're gonna let this boy sit. He's gonna rest here on his face here. And we're gonna work on this area. But actually, I'll leave this half painted. You can see here, my camera will focus. You can see how those edges are shiny, but these edges are not. And that's what the trick is. Most of this object is still black, but the silver paint, the zinc paint, has collected on the edges, and it streaked up the flatter surfaces, so those flatter surfaces appear to have a slight shine to them in comparison to the edges, which have a brighter shine. It's all a very fantastic little illusion. Alright, sorry, I was just addressing someone else. Addressing the gremlin, making sure that she needs to see me after this. Which is okay. Got a little more paint. But that's too much paint. There we go. There we go. Make sure we get it across the front. Well, I'm going to need to use let's use a tool here. Let's see if I can clean out this barrel. Oh, that actually needs a little love from... There we go. You see the barrels. You can see now it's all shiny. We've shinified it. And put this flat here because we gotta get... Just see how that looks. You know what? I like it. So we're gonna really lightly dry brush the fingers. We're gonna leave the Mechanica Standard Gray, but we're gonna end up dry brushing the zinc onto them because they will be lighter And because I'm being rather light with the zinc dry brushing, they'll be a different color for sure. I'm going to get the inside of the hand too. There you go. Look at those fingers. See, now instead of just being a dull gray, they look like a metal. We'll see how we handle the chapter symbol, but I might do a similar thing here. But we're going to wait on that one. That's a detail work we're going to wait on. Okay, so we've pretty much hit all the spaces on the dreadnought that will have these features, except for maybe like this piece, but we're going to hold off on this piece for the day. We're not going to do this piece today, because I still need to decide precisely how I'm going to paint that plasma cannon. Okay. Whew. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm clicking again. Now, we're gonna get ourselves... Where's my old... This is, again, the makeup brush that was supplied to me by my sister. The gremlin, as I often call her on these streams. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it to this engine block. You can see it on this side. And then versus now this side, see? You can see the difference. It's pretty hefty. Yeah, look at this engine block. Oh, it's gorgeous. I cannot wait to have this next to glowing metal. Because this stuff is going to be molten. I'm going to do the same here. Whole thing. Now, I might paint over the metal at some point. But for now, we're just going to get this whole thing painted metal. And let that be a major piece of art advice, even for physical arts like this one. Major piece of the magic making. You do not need to have an absolute beginning to end plan when you start. Sometimes what you need to do is just start doing stuff to figure out what you're doing. Because I had no idea how I was going to make this base and how I was going to do all this. And now, look at it. It already looks amazing. It's already fantastic looking. I had no idea that it was going to turn out good, that this wasn't just going to burst into flames in my face. But here we are. I'm going to step away and use the restroom. I shall be back in but a moment. And I've returned. One second, actually, hold on. Let me do some jump. There we are. Wow. Holy crap, we've been going for 2.5 hours. We're crazy today, huh? Alright. So actually, as far as I know, aside from the bullet holes here, this piece is done. And this piece, aside from bullet holes, touch-up, and the molten metal, it is also done. So this is the main piece that has stuff left, along with these components here. Gorgeous. I'm gonna slot it. So I'll go there. Easy enough to glue back into place. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. I know it's technically gonna be easier to paint separate, but I think I'd rather have it repaired now. You can do it, Blue. You can do it. I believe in you. Hold that still for a bit. We'll just let that dry. We're actually just going to hold this for a few more minutes. But I think we are actually going to be calling it a day soon, now that I've reattached this. We're going to go ahead and call it a day as soon as this is done drying enough for me to set it down. Today went fantastically. All of my dry brushing went absolutely fantastic. I'm very happy with it. I had some happy chatters. I found out a certain someone was watching when I checked my lurkers. But I am very happy. Oh, something beeped at me. I should be able to set that down now. Woo! Alright. I think that is enough for the day. That was 2.5 hours, almost 2.5 hours of just going ham on the painting. I didn't do like a 10-minute intro. I just said hello and started slapping paint on stuff. It went nuts. I'm happy. I'm happy with this. I'm looking forward to how much progress I've made. I've only got a few more components to finish painting, and then I can actually like finally assemble this guy and call him done. Which is really exciting. Which does leave the question, what should I make next? I will probably put up a poll at some point to see what part of our little space puppy army here that we're going to go ahead and make next. I'm kind of keen on maybe Wolfguard. Wolfguard might be fun. But there are also other things, like I do also need to make some sort of stealth unit that's either like infiltrators or incursors, eradicators or longfangs. Longfangs would be fun. Although I think I might... So on the table, I run them with multi-melters and grav cannons. But my true love is multi-melters and heavy bolters. Grav cannons are basically heavy bolters, but better. But nothing beats the giant missile machine gun, right? Nothing quite has the same feel. I don't feel like a techno arcane gravity gun has the same oomph as what is basically just a giant automatic grenade launcher. It doesn't quite have the presence, you know? Laser versus boop, boop, boop. So I might cheat and build them with heavy bolters. But I'll probably put a poll up for that. For now, I hope you learned something in today's lesson, and I hope you have a magical evening. I'm gonna go see what they wanted me for, and then I'm gonna go lie down. Goodbye, and have a great time.